Hello everybody out there on YouTube. Today we're going to stop Windows 10 from sending shit tons of telemetry and shit tons of data so that they can make money off of you, the user. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to use multiple softwares and multiple methods to remove apps and bloatware that we do not need in the OS. The current version we're going to use of Windows 10 is the 1709. I think it's 1709. Alright, I've confirmed that it is 1709. 1709. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is click on English 64-bit because most machines are 64-bit these days. Now, I already have the ISO, so you're going to have to download it, but in this case, I'm going to not download it. Alright, so now that we have our Windows 10 ISO, I'm going to need you to get this program, which I've linked into the description here. It'll be a zip file full of the links that all the links that you need. After you got the program, I'm going to need you to open this up. Basically what you do is you extract this folder out, the x64 one. You click on this right here. Then you click No, because it's wanting you to activate it, but you can actually use this without having to activate it. So, wait till it goes to 0, we'll click this, yada yada yada. I actually had to edit a couple of these clips because some of them were actually not recorded. So, anyways, click Start, click ISO, and we're going to click No again. Wait till it goes to 0 again. And then after that, we're going to select the ISO. Basically what we do is we go and select ISO. So look for the ISO and select it. Now that we have selected the ISO, we're going to want to, here, let me close all these real quick. Oh, that. We're going to click the addition of Windows you want to use. Now, personally, I use Pro, but if you cannot afford Pro or you don't have the money to buy Pro, then use Home. But in this scenario, we're probably going to use Pro because that has the GP Edit. You can also download the GP Edit software or GP Edit program on Windows Home, but it requires doing some additional steps, so I'm not going to run through that. I'm going to click Professional, and then we're going to mount it. It's going to wait. Go, click No. Click More. Alright. And basically what we're going to do with this program is literally strip the ISO. We're going to strip it of the Metro apps, we're going to strip it of the telemetry, we're going to strip it of all that stuff, all the bloatware that Windows or Microsoft likes to add on to the ISO to literally track your data, basically. That's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make a lot of money, and we don't want that as a user. So, goes. Give it some time. Alright. Then it's going to ask us to activate again. Wait for it. No. Alright. Now that we're at this screen, we are going to go through these settings and find out what we do not want. So we don't need to mess with presets or appearance. That's not what we need to remove. Alright, so basically what we want here, all this stuff you're going to need. You're going to need printing, you're going to need Internet Explorer, but say you don't want Windows Defender Application Guard, we'll just remove that service. I know a lot of people don't really use Windows Defender because it's, in general, a very shitty antivirus. So let's go ahead and remove that. Now this doesn't remove the actual app itself, this just removes the feature of it. So we're going to want to remove the app, the service, and the feature of all these little things here. Media player, PowerShell, these are all fine. So we're basically going to remove Windows Defender 2. Alright, so now we're going to go through here through the accessories. This might be a long video because we're going to remove everything unneeded in Windows. So WordPad, to go, search. A lot of this stuff you won't know what it is, and some of this stuff I don't even know what it is, but the main things we're going to remove are the apparent ones. So like mail, if you do not want mail, we can remove it. Remove that. We don't want the mail service. I don't use Windows Mail, and I don't know if you use Windows Mail either. Let's see. System Restore, we want that. Wide hours, paint, open with. Machine Learning. You may want to turn this off because machine learning creates an extreme amount of data on what you do with the device. Like GPU assisted machine learning and CPU assisted machine learning. A while back, Windows 10 or Microsoft added machine learning in their OSs to quote unquote improve the customer experience, but I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any of that at all. It really is unneeded. So we're going to go up here. Now we're going to go into here and see what else is in here. Windows Defender control panel. Let's remove that. Let's see. Taskbar. Files. I don't like the Xbox services personally, so I'm going to remove those. Like the game controllers, you can add that, but the Xbox services gotta go. Those got to leave. So this stuff is pretty fine. All the stuff in here, take a quick glance at it. Let's see what's in here. All that stuff looks like it's needed, so we're gonna keep that as well. Fonts, keyboards, we don't need to worry about that. That's the actual default things that come with Windows. Here is what we're mainly going to do. We're going to remove the bloatware. So, Zoom Music, we don't want that. Zoom Video, we don't want that. Your phone, we don't want that. We don't want to connect our phone to Windows and have it track everything we're doing. So, we're going to remove the Xbox services. Basically, all the shit that you literally probably won't use. I mean, you probably use the Xbox Live games, but everything else, like the store, I don't use a fucking store, I just go to the web. That's where I get all my software. Photos, Windows Photos. We could probably keep that. Phone, we don't want that. Mixed reality. If you're going to use a mixed reality headset, you can keep it, but in this scenario, we're going to turn it off because let's just pretend I don't have a VR headset and I don't want it. Windows Maps, we don't want that. I'll just use Google Maps on the web. Windows Defender, that's the Windows Defender, let's disable that. Windows Feedback, we can keep Windows Feedback. Calculator, we'll keep the calculator. Alarms, we'll keep the alarms. Media extensions, wallets, Sway, sticky notes, solitaire. Let's disable solitaire. I don't want solitaire. I actually am a fan of the older solitaire. I don't like the newer stuff, the in-game purchases and all that. Skype, we don't need that. We don't need retail demos. We don't need 3D printing. Whoopsie daisies. We don't want the 3D builder, 3D print, 3D viewer. App connector, I don't know what that is, but we'll leave it enabled. Finance, Bing Finance. No, Bing Food and Drink. Why would I want to know where to eat in Bing? Probably not the best search engine to be using in the first place. We all use Google. I personally don't, because Google's also starting to copy Microsoft with the telemetry bullshit. Bing News, disable. Bing Sports, disable. Bing Travel, all this stuff that we do not care about, do not need. Camera, I'm sure if you had a webcam, you'd want to have an app like this, but in this case scenario, we're going to disable it because it's probably going to be using it even though we're not using it. Camera, barcode scanner. let's not have that. Let's see, connect. No, we don't need that. Content delivery manager, Cortana. Cortana. Let's not have that. Desktop app installer. Don't have that. Save all these things. Well, actually, I don't know what these are in particular, so I'm going to... Actually, desktop app installer. We'll have that. I don't actually know what that is. Eye control. I don't know what that is, but I'm disabling it. File Explorer. We want that. We want the framework. We want that. Hover control panel. We want that. Edge. No. I'm not going to use Edge. I'm sure you wouldn't want to either unless you like Edge first. Microsoft Wi-Fi. My people. We don't need to use my people. OB Cortana. That's Cortana related. One Connect. Let's not have that. OneNote. Let's not have that. We don't really use Microsoft's cloud services. 3D Paint. Not have that. And alright. I think that's about it. Now, I could have sworn OneDrive was in here somewhere. Phone, we don't want that. People, we don't want that. OneDrive. I'm not sure if OneDrive's in here. It's probably somewhere in these settings. Alright. Now let's move on to the next tab. Click on here, multimedia. Let's see. Consider photo viewer. Yes, we want that. Game mode, game chat, games explorer. Game bar. We can have the game bar. I tried disabling the game bar last time and it did not, something went wrong. I'm not sure, I can't remember what it was, but we'll have that enabled this time. Alright, let's, multimedia looks pretty fine. The biometry, fingerprint authentication, face recognition, all that stuff. I personally do not want that on my device. It may be convenient and useful, but the amount of data that it tracks, especially with the face recognition, is humongous. And you know where that data is being sent to. You know exactly where that data is being sent to. We're going to disable that. We're going to disable that. Battery meter, let's keep that. Network. Alright, the network, let's see. Services, telemetry. We're going to keep telemetry on, and the reason why we're going to keep the telemetry on in this one is because we're going to use a third-party program to disable the telemetry within the OS. So we're going to keep that on. Smart screen, we don't want smart screen. Smart screen stops you from opening up programs from other USB sticks that were put on there by another computer. There's OneDrive. Alright. Microsoft Sync. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. Alright. We don't need to disable that. Geolocation. If you have, if you want to have your device know where you're located, and maybe like order things for delivery and stuff, and have it automatically give you the website your location, then you can do that. But if you don't, disable it. This will allow you to be able to use a VPN better because geolocation is not turned on. Edge, we don't need the edge because we disabled it. We're going to disable all the extensions for it. Edge engine, we don't need that. Data duplication. Alright. Well, yeah. The last time I disabled Edge, I can't remember which setting it was that disabled Edge, but anyways, let's keep going here. Privacy. I am going to turn all these on, because we're trying to make the most private lockdown OS as possible. Turning all these on. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. We're turning them all on. If it says privacy, it's on. If it says turn on privacy settings, turn them all on regardless. Turn all these on. We don't want the application ID. We don't want the advertising ID. We don't want the microphone. Definitely not the microphone. We don't want the notifications. We don't want the information about what you're viewing, what your websites you're looking at, who you're talking to, why you're talking to them. We don't want any of that. All that's turned on. Settings, we'll keep that on. Themes, tweaks. Here is where you can actually tweak your OS. Now I have registry files that will also do the same thing, but they're not as efficient. This is 100% efficient. So I'm going to go through here. You can skip this part if you want. Take ownership. We want that because we want to be able to take ownership of any file we right-click. We're going to want to remove Paint 3D from the context menu. We're going to want to remove some other things here. We're going to want to settings. Remove 3D objects from the Explorer. Yes. Let's remove OneDrive from the navigation pane. Yes, we remove OneDrive. Remove recent files from the navigation pane. I don't need to know what files I've been in recently because I'm a human being and I can navigate my own file system. So we're going to turn that off. Recent folders, turn that off. Quick access. I don't need to quickly access anything. I can already quickly access it by opening up my Explorer window and going into the file I want to go in. So we're going to go remove pin quick access. We're going to remove all this stuff. Let's apps Cortana disable. Yes. Cortana disable. Windows Defender disable. Defender disable. Defender all disable. Disable all cookies. We could just... Some of these settings actually won't work since we've already removed Edge itself. But we're going to turn these on anyways, just in case somehow it were to come back on. Because Windows 10 likes to re-add things back. So that's why we're going to turn off Windows Update after we install this customized ISO. This basically hacked ISO. Disable Smart Screen, we're going to do that. Use Dark Theme, we'll do that. You don't have to use the dark theme if you don't want to. Let's see, monitor by apps. And so if you know, here's the thing, if you know what these do, you can disable them. If you know what you're doing in this program and you know what they are, you can actually disable them and customize your OS the way you want it. You don't have to necessarily follow what I'm doing exactly. But here we are, we're going to continue here. Recently added apps, the start menu. I don't need that. You know what, we'll do that. Full screen mode. I think that's mostly it for the tweaks. Let's just making sure that we haven't missed anything. Alright, we're good. Wait a second. Disable Notification Center. If you're annoyed with the notifications, and you hate notifications, kind of like me, you can disable it. Disable all notifications. Disable promotion notification icons, all the notifications. Now, actually, this may not disable it completely, but we'll definitely turn off a lot of it. So that about sums it up for all these settings. It's a lot of settings for the ISO. This is probably going to be a very long video on how to do it. But we're going to go to here, go to the services. Now, let's turn off all the Xbox services. Disable it, remove it. We don't want them. because I don't have an Xbox. You may have an Xbox, so you can enable all these if you want. Turn it to automatic. But for this video, we're going to disable it because we want a private OS. We don't want any apps transferring data to any other software, programs, apps, anything. Update service. Let's turn off Windows Update. We're going to turn off Windows Update completely. We're going to remove Windows Update service and disable it because we might want to use it in the future. Actually, no, we can't, because the moment we update, a lot of this shit is going to be added back. So we're removing the update service. We have to, or else this setup won't work. So if you're going to be using this video to create a private OS, you're going to have to use the 1709 build of Windows. Push notifications. We already disabled that, so we're going to disable it here. I'm pretty sure that's some form of notification. Let's disable it. Defender, we don't want that. We don't want the Defender. We don't want anything Defender. We're going to download our own antivirus. Biometric service, I'm pretty sure you don't want any kind of facial recognition looking at my face while looking up websites. Wi-Fi, we'll want that. Let's see. More access from a desktop, we can have that. Geolocation, remove. Let's see. Bluetooth, we'll have that enabled. Automatic. Hold on one sec. Yeah, right. So basically, all these are going to be automatic. Actually, no. Make them blank because then it switches into default settings. Okay. Unattended, and that's about it for the first step. Now after that we set all those settings, we're going to click in the optimizations area for where we finished. ISOs, delete unneeded additions. We're going to delete all the unneeded additions that we're not using, so that we can have just the ISO. We're going to click apply, click no, and we're going to basically create the ISO. Now after this is done, we're going to insert this ISO into our computer, but I recommend testing it in a VirtualBox before you continue. You can look up how to use a VirtualBox on the web. So we're removing all these modern UI apps. We're removing Cortana, removing the Edge browser. A lot of this stuff that's not even removable in the OS that Windows really does not want you to remove. And they'll do anything they can to not let you do it. So I'm going to pause the video, and when I'm finished, I'm going to basically run you through the setup of the Windows ISO. Alright, so after you're finished with that setup, you should be brought to this screen right here. It should be set to this when it pops up. We're going to click on this, then we're going to basically click on where we want it to be. Put it on the desktop, and name it whatever you want to name it. I'm going to name it custom test Windows ISO. We're going to change the boot compatibility to UEFI and BIOS. The reason why is because we don't know what kind of computer you're using, and if it's not compatible with UEFI boot, we're going to have to use legacy boot. So that's why we're going to choose both. Click save, yes, and wait for it to basically write the ISO and put it on your desktop. I'm going to pause this here, and I'll continue it when it's finished. So now that we got the custom ISO, which is right here, I just inserted it into the pretend machine because I don't have an actual computer to actually test this on, but this should work. We're going to basically set it up. Install now. We're going to set it up here. Now this is the untested customized hacked ISO that we're using. And surprisingly, even with a hacked ISO up to this extent, Microsoft will still try to push a lot of this shit into a lot of the apps, a lot of these things. They'll try, I mean, they don't actually do it, but they could if they wanted to, into the next updates of Windows 10. So, we're going to disable it completely. We're going to disable Windows Update completely in this OS. Format the drive. Yes, format. We're going to, next, we're going to set this up. I'll pause when I'm at the welcome screen. Alright, so we are now about to go into the welcome screen in the Windows 10. And usually the welcome screen will look like Cortana greeting you. But since we removed the Cortana package, it'll actually skip to the setup screen. It'll actually skip to the setup screen without Cortana saying, hi, welcome, this is your new OS and all that. As you'll see right here after it's done setting up. Set up all the stuff. I really honestly hope, too, that it doesn't get to the point to where people are hardcore hacking the ISO and removing shit because Microsoft's business practices are so out of hand and bad, because this really, Google actually got in trouble. The CEO got in trouble for actually doing the same shit that Microsoft is doing. Because people, if you'll ask somebody on the street, hey, are you okay with people tracking your data, all these corporations, they're tracking your data on all the websites you visit, wherever you go on Facebook, Google, Twitter, all those places, and they'll be like, no, I don't. But if you ask them a different question, like, are you a supporter of privacy? They'll be like, no, I don't care, because they're not given enough information about it, and the average person won't care about it. They won't give a shit. It's kind of bad. It's kind of dumb. So yeah, we're gonna click on this. Click on US. We're gonna skip the keyboard layout. And we do not want to connect to the internet when we're doing this setup. If we do, we don't know if Microsoft's watching, so I'm just letting you know, if you're doing this setup and you're connected to the internet, your experience might be different. So we're not going to connect to the internet. We're going to call this Test OS, because that's really what this is an experiment. Because we haven't tested this OS at all. We're not going to have a password. You can set up a password if you want. Alright, here we are. A lot of this stuff has already been disabled, but the OS does not know that it's been disabled. So we're going to re-disable it while it's already disabled. That should double disable it. Hopefully the double is good enough. We may not have to use a triple. We don't have to. Yes, we actually have to double disable settings these days. Alright. We're at the OS. The Windows 10 Microsoft OS. It's going to set up here. Make sure you're using the 1709 build. 1709 really, honestly, is all you need to have a gaming PC. It has DirectX 12. It has the latest drivers. You don't need to update. You can install all your updates manually. Just like if you have an NVIDIA card, go to the NVIDIA website, download the driver. You don't have to update through Windows to get the drivers. You have a Bluetooth dongle or Bluetooth mouse, download the drivers on their website. Every product that you buy at a store will have a website to go to get support and download the drivers. If you're letting Windows do all the stuff, they're going to end up putting their own software to track your data, and we really don't want that. So, if you want to have a private OS. So, yeah. Wait You can skip this part if you don't want to wait with this. Here we are, let's start. Now that we've got that, we have the OS. Look at all this stuff that's been removed. Edge isn't there. The search isn't there. Now, all those CMDs that you saw were the program actually finalizing its setup. Finalizing its removal of all these programs. Some of these actually haven't gotten removed, like Office, we never removed that, so let's just uninstall it. We didn't remove calendar or calculator alarms, so that's still there. Mail, some of this stuff actually still there. We don't want it though. All this stuff, we don't want it. We don't want any of this stuff. Unpin. We don't want any of that. So basically all we have is this. None of the default programs, you don't see OneDrive, you don't see any of that. None of that is there, so yeah. Now, after we're done with this, let's take out all this stuff. Move this to here. We have all this. See that? No quick access, no anything, it's just your drive. You got your pictures, your videos, you don't get distracted with anything. Just focus on what you have. We're going to now get a USB stick. And the reason why is because we don't want to go online on this virtual machine. We don't want Microsoft to see what we're doing. We're going to use a USB. Pretend that this folder's a USB. And we're going to click on one of these links. Alright, so basically here are the links you're going to want to download. The host file, I have that linked in there in the description. Spybot Anti-Beacon, you're going to want that. You're going to want Shut Up Windows 10, and you're going to want Destroy Windows 10. This won't really destroy Windows 10, don't worry. So, let's get the host file, let's get the Anti-Spy Beacon, let's get Shut Up Windows 10, and let's get Destroy Windows 10. This is going to further layer, basically what we're doing is we're layering down settings and security and all that stuff until basically it's so hard to use telemetry and spy on the user that there's no point to it anymore. I mean, really in reality though, it's practically impossible to get Windows 10 to be 100% foolproof private. But we can definitely add a lot of security on this OS, especially the 1709 build, since that was the last build that had the creators update. The new stuff that they're doing now with Windows 10 is literally impossible to remove. Like, they've structured the OS now in such a way where that if you disable a setting or you remove something, they'll actually start restricting access to certain settings in the settings menu. Like, say you want to add a password to your account, well, you can't do that because you disabled the, see, look, they're already doing it, because they did the, you see, they're already doing it. They know what you're doing. I'm not even connected to the internet, and some settings are hidden, managed by your organization. You see? They know. This is why there's no point into doing it anymore. This is basically the last video that I'm doing on how to disable it, because after that, after you go to 1809, there's no point anymore. It's just way too hard. But we're going to, add a password. Add a password. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There. Okay. 2, 1. Change the password. There's no reason why we can't have a password. Alright, back on topic. Alright, so we now have the stuff in the computer. We have the USB right here. This isn't really what's in the computer, but this is pretending like you inserted it into the virtual machine or whatever machine you're using. We're going to open this. We're going to open up our USB drive, and we're going to run the first program, which is this one, DWS. Now the reason why we are doing this, most of the privacy settings are already enabled in the OS. Everything's all off already. But here's the thing, with Windows 10, they don't necessarily turn off all these settings. You may think that it's actually off, but under the cover, they actually are still recording some data. They're still connecting servers to your computer, they're still tracking telemetry, they're still listening to your microphone, even though it looks disabled. I mean, the microphone for a lot of things we did disable, but there's still, probably if you download apps, it might use the microphone again. So we're basically going to try to minimize that as much as possible. So we're going to click on this, destroy Windows 10 final version, enable professional mode, and we don't necessarily have to delete Metro apps because we already did this. We already edited our OS. We're going to disable spy tasks. Set default to Windows Photo Viewer, yes. Disable Windows Defender, we don't need that. Disable private settings, we don't need that, we already disabled them. Add spy domains to host file. This is the main one that we'll need. And also this one, delete keylogger telemetry. But yeah, we're going to disable Windows Update. We don't want our machine to update at all. If our machine updates, say goodbye to all your privacy settings. It's all gone because Microsoft does not want you at all to modify the OS like this in any way. The fact that we removed the Edge browser probably pissed them off a lot. So let's go run it. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to add a shit ton of IPs, a shit ton of firewall rules, a lot of stuff to stop the Microsoft servers from tracking all this data. Look at all this shit. All that stuff in there. It's adding all of it. Make sure that you're offline. Make sure you're not connected. This will not be the same if you are connected to the internet. Keep going. Add all these firewall rules. We turned off the Action Center and the notifications, so we're not worried about that. We don't want any of this stuff. Yes, this is for 2018. Yes, using build 1709 will work until 2020 and 22 because there's nothing wrong with 1709 Windows 10. Windows 10 is already a great OS. It is optimized and fast. It is a fast speed, fast OS. So we're going to not restart. Look at all that stuff it added. It disabled a lot of stuff. The customer experiments program, all these IPs blocked. And even though we blocked all these IPs, look at all those IPs. We still have to add more IPs. We still have to add more IPs. Which is why we're going to use this link, host file. The host file IP. Now let's reopen Destroy Windows 10 because this actually lets you edit the host file. By default, Microsoft does not let you edit the host file. On Windows 7, you can actually edit the host file, but on Windows 10, they disabled you being able to do that. So, open the host file. All these links, all those IPs, disabled, all routed to 000. We're going to open this up. We're also blocking Facebook too, by the way. You don't have to add these Facebook URLs because you may use Facebook still. But if you don't use Facebook, which are probably a very few amount of you, then you can add these links and it'll actually stop Facebook from being able to track you on their main URLs. I mean, Facebook has millions of domains. It's practically impossible to block them all, but so does Microsoft. But we are blocking the main ones. The main ones that track your data. We're going to add all this stuff and we're going to paste it in this host file. Right here. Boom. Now we have double the amount. Double the amount of blocks. Fun fact, if you try to block Bing.com, in the host file of Windows 10, it'll actually ignore it. It'll circumvent the host file. It's really retarded, bad business practice for Microsoft, but they're doing it now. Oh wow. Okay. It's okay, we already have the notepad open. We already saved it. They'll circumvent and go straight to the Bing IP and Bing website. They'll not even care that you put that in the host file, but everything else will be blocked. If it is not blocked in your host file for this version of Windows 10, let me know. I'll see what I can do. So, yep. Oh, it's responding now. Okay. So, we have blocked a lot of IPs. You would think that'd be enough, right? We removed all the Metro apps. We removed every privacy setting. We turned off telemetry. We turned off a lot of things. We're still not done. Microsoft really wants your data. So we're going to run another program. This is going to further layer the amount of privacy we have on this machine. No connection. We want to refresh the immunization after each restart. Click Next. We're going to launch a spy beacon. You see now, look. A lot of these programs that we download are not actually 100% thorough. So we're going to want to make it even more thorough. We're going to block IP. We're going to block web group policy. We're going to block the OneDrive policy. We're going to block the IPs, the Bing IPs. You see, we can actually block the Bing IPs here. It doesn't add it to the host file. It actually does it somewhere else, I'm pretty sure. Telemetry hosts. We already have that blocked. Office telemetry. If you don't use Office, you can go ahead and apply all these. But if you do use Office, you might want this. Because I'm not sure with Office, but they might actually stop you from using certain things with Office if you have these enabled. But I could be wrong. So let's go ahead and disable these because I don't use Office. I don't want Office. I use LibreOffice. So, alright. And we have immunized. Alright. We are pretty much 80% done. The only thing we need to run now is is shut up Windows 10. This is the last program that we have to use. Actually, no, we don't have to use it. So now that we're pretty much done, we don't actually have to use this. I had a bad experience with the Shut Up Windows 10 because there's actually a lot of settings in this program that I really don't want to disable or enable because it might actually literally break something. Because we are approaching the limits here of how stripped down we can actually make this OS. We are pretty much 75% private on this OS. That is actually a lot since this is Windows 10. Usually you're about 1% private when you're using this OS, but we are now 75% private. You can use this program right here, Shut Up Windows 10, if you absolutely know what you are doing, because you can actually disable things and it will stop you from using certain things. It'll actually break some things. So if you know what you're doing, use this. So I think that about sums it up for the private OS. Windows Update is disabled. Let's go. Not connected to the internet yet. So after this setup, I would highly recommend you use a VPN because it's just in general, if you want to be private and safe on the internet, you're going to want to use a VPN. You're going to not want hackers to know what your IPs are. You're not going to want any corporation to see what your IP is when you're viewing Facebook or Twitter or any of those websites. So yeah, once you have a VPN, just basically don't update your machine, do whatever you can to not update it, and you'll be fine. You have a private Windows 10. And, yeah, I think that's about it. We can take a quick view of what we've done on the OS real quick before we actually, end the video, because I actually am interested on what we actually removed in the ISO. We removed the phone stuff. Yes, we did. We removed all these settings. See, look, none of it's there. Pretty cool. Let's see. The Xbox gaming. We didn't remove the game bar, any of the game bar stuff, but we did remove the actual Xbox controller services and all that stuff. That's not there anymore. It's gone. We removed a lot of that stuff. The apps, the default apps. No Candy Crush Soda Saga 5. No, Bing Maps. No any of that stuff. It's just the regular needed applications that you actually need on this OS. Usually I don't use this, but, yeah. And if you can't, get the search bar to work on here, I know that the search bar actually breaks sometimes. Yeah, it's not working, it doesn't work. You can actually download a program which will fix this entire thing right here. It's called Classic Shell. I'll, put a link to it. Basically what it does is it replaces this entire start menu with, an actual start menu. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. No quick access, none of that. Alright. We have a private OS. Thank you, YouTube 2018, for watching this video. See you later.